there, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, what have you been up to so far today? Anything interesting?
No, just I had some just sorting out some CDs. I've been just filling a few gaps in my CD collection. So
Oh,
I've been
okay.
buying strange mono Beatles CDs
Oh, have
online.
you? Oh,
Well, just I get these obsessions. Like I think it was back in the 80s. They released like the CDs of all the Beatles albums, but they did him in mono. Everything up to Revolt. They did him in
okay.
mono. I think they're
Okay.
87 or something. So I've got it in my mind that I have to get all those now. I've got a couple. So I've got the latest remastered Beatles CDs, but now I'm on the
Okay.
lookout for all the mono
Oh,
versions of
right.
them. It's just stupid, really.
We're not
But
really.
yeah,
It's good to have passion, isn't it? It's good to
no,
have passion.
absolutely.
It's
I
a
did like
harmless
filling
one.
gaps. I had a really exciting. I say this. I don't know what it says about my life, but I went to Truro on Tuesday with my wife. She had an appointment up there, and I found the last. I was missing one Lou Reed CD that I've never
Oh,
been. I haven't been able to find on CD for years. I found it. So I had to pay 14.99, which is a lot of money, I
oh,
think, for a second. It's a legendary Hearts album.
oh! I haven't got that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I've got that because I've got the box set, the Lou Reed
Mm.
RCA and Arista albums box set, and it's on that. But I
Okay.
wanted a separate CD. You know what I mean? That was the last one, the last Lou Reed that I haven't got as a separate
As I
CD
said,
album.
yeah, in its own
I mean,
right. Yeah.
the vinyl albums are long gone, but I finally got Legendary Hearts. I just played it actually. Like a lot of those later RCA albums,
Mm.
New Sensations, Legendary Hearts, Mistrial. When you first hear them, you think, "Oh, this is shit." But
It's
then when you
lackluster.
go
Yeah.
back to them, there's usually sort of like three or four good songs that make it worthwhile.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I don't think I've got anything from that late period. So
well, Blue Mask is a good
that's
album.
the
Blue
last one
Mask.
I've got, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Blue
then
Mask is
just
good.
after that, of course, he went to Sire
Yeah.
and made the brilliant New York
Oh, and I've got that as well. Yeah, so
album.
what am I
Yeah,
saying? Yeah,
he
I've got
did that
that.
on Sire. So,
Yeah, I've got
but
that on
yeah, it's
CD.
always yeah. Anyway, but that's what I've been.
So yeah, yeah. Are you a Beatles collector then? Are you
Not really a
like
collector, but
a
I'll find
completist?
it's funny. I don't know. The older I get, I seem to be going back to. I was trying to explain because a lot of people say, "Oh, Beatles are shit" and all that, bloody old Beatles. But I think
Uh,
the age I am, because I was up born in 57. So basically, all my childhood, most of my childhood,
yeah.
was the Beatles, was the Stones, was the 60s and that. So it's sort of in your head, it's sort of with you. So
Yeah, absolutely.
as soon as I put those, especially the early days on, the first, the Beatlemania years, 63, 64 and that. I don't know. I just remember back to when I was a kid and dancing. It
Yeah,
sounds
so
like
it's
terribly
nostalgia.
sentimental,
Yeah,
but
sentimentality.
stepping back and actually trying to, I still argue for just, there's no one to match them, to do that much good work. I mean, anyone can do a lot of shit work, but
Yeah,
to do
yeah.
that much good, really good work in such a short amount of time, I think it's phenomenal. I don't think it's never been beaten. It never will be. No
No,
one will
no.
ever beat that run of great albums, and the pressure they were under, the work ethic, and that was like, two great albums a year.
Mm.
No one's going to ever do that again. You know what I mean? It's of its time and that, but yeah, and I still think every time you go back to it, there's always something new to find. I find that anyway. So
Yeah,
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 that's
of
me.
course. So I'm not, yeah, no, no. I know loads of people that are into the Beatles, and I've got a certain amount of respect for them, and I've got many of their albums. So
Mm.
nothing, and I do accept their place as well. So
Oh yes.
very very important. So um, you know,
That's
fuck
right.
fuck what Joe. Sorry, I've got to just change.
What did
Yeah, sorry about this. Oh, is that better or is that worse? Oh
No,
dear.
I can see. As long as I'm the important one here, though, and I
You,
am
you,
the.
you are, yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not
Get
important.
me right. You're a
I'm
bit
not.
shadowy in the back. Am I all right?
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
Because people always
Okay.
say, I've got gothic roots. I don't want to look like I'm in the, I'm not goth. Never have been.
You've just emerged from the shadows.
Yeah, exactly. So
Anyway,
yeah,
I'm sure we haven't done this to talk about the Beatles.
no, we haven't. We're here to talk about what you've been doing in the last, um, maybe the last year, really, or over a year, because obviously we've been working together. We did the book last year, which we can plug once again because I've still got, and Cargo have still
Yeah,
got enough copies of this. So, how do you feel
yeah,
about
yeah.
this now? This book now you've been sitting on it for so long. You happy that you did it?
Yeah, well, yeah, as you know, there was times when I was some of the stuff that wasn't about music, wasn't about the work. I was a little bit because I think the trouble with a lot of that stuff, it over time, I mean, my opinions on a lot of that stuff have probably changed now.
Well,
I
that's
mean, not
good.
about the music, about what's going on. I tend to not like a lot of people. I think I don't know whether it was the COVID thing or the lockdown. I mean, a lot of my friends are still stuck in it. They're worried about what's going on in the clouds and that. Every now and again they go on Facebook and talking about the bloody vapor trails and all this,
Oh, right. Okay.
all that. It's like, stop, get your fucking head out of the clouds and just get on with your work. Like, you're not going to be able to
Yeah.
change it. What are you going to do? Stand on the block? Anyway, I'll
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
stop that. Anyway, but what I've tended not to worry about that now because I think that what's important is just to get on with what you can do, the work you can do. So
yeah,
I think, but I think, yeah, I mean, I still get a lot of good feedback for the book. So
mm,
yeah, I'm sort of pleased with it. I'm pleased what we did really,
yeah,
and there's still
absolutely.
I'm still sending it to people, who, and all that. So yeah, there seems to be a lot of good feedback, and
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
because because I'm doing music as well. I think if I was one of these sad sacks that was either doing like a sort of greatest hits cabaret show, like a lot of these old punks are doing, or I was doing nothing at all, I think I'd put more weight on the book, and it would like worry me more that this was some sort of, last sort of, what I mean, the last word. But because I'm sort of working on contemporary stuff and that, it's just I just see it as a milestone, just something I did. It's about those early years, and then I don't rest everything in that. I think if I was like one of these people who had nothing else on, just that book, I'd
Yeah.
be a little bit more worried about it. I'd probably demand a rewrite or a second edition.
Yeah. Oh God, you'd have to find somebody else to do that.
Oh, charming! It was that
Yeah.
bad an
I'm
experience.
joking. I'm
No,
joking.
but yeah, no, but overall, about those. A lot of people are giving me really positive feedback about it. Whatever
Yeah,
doubts
good.
I may have had, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no reason for you, all your doubts should be allayed by the fact there has been good support for it. I just wish more people bought a bloody copy. So that, buy a copy.
Yeah, but it's
Buy
like
buy one.
it's like a lot of things now, isn't it? Even stuff. I mean, I've found this, because as you know, we one of the things I do as well as music is I've got the sort of sniffing glue website now. So
That's
we're
right.
trying to, because we had sort of last year we did a project with like a clothing company using
That's
sniffing glue
right.
graphics and that, and making new stuff, and sort of really not like a sellout, but in a way using it, because sniffing glue is such a sort of like a bit like the Beatles in the music
An
world.
institution,
Sniff,
Mark.
Sniffing glue. Well, yeah, in the fanzine world it is. You
It
know what I
is,
mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
can't help it. It's something I did, accidentally, sort of like number one. So, but that's sort of, but it's made me not that I want to just, me. I'm not a person ever to like just keep regurgitating the past all
No,
the
no,
time. But
no.
revisiting the sort of sniffing glue and the idea of sniffing glue, the DIY sort of instant art and that, sort of sloganeering in a sort of more positive way. So, I had that going as well. Got the website going. On the back of that, we've got the new sniffing glue book. So the last sort of, the last year has been great because I've had, the book about ATV, the early years up to
Yeah,
eight, and of course the sniffing glue book as well. So it's all a bit, I always worry, as you know, you work with me. I always worry about leaning too much on the past. But I
I
think if
know.
you do it in a positive way, it can be a good thing. You use it as a stepping stone to the next thing. And I like to
Absolutely.
build up. I've done that with both the ATV legacy, if you like, and also the position that Sniffing Glue's got in the fanzine world and whatever, and sort of use that to sort of move on to sort of create some new and interesting things, you know.
Yeah. Well, I've leveled this at you before. I've always contended that you should be proud of, what you've done. I know you are. I know you're proud of a lot of things you've done in the past, but I know, you've talked about this a lot with me, for the book and in some of our other, private conversations as well. You've said a lot about how you don't want to be held or just solely seen as somebody who was responsible for how much longer and, and the usual
right.
stuff,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I do think that's a good place to talk about what you have been doing more recently. And that's, this is your last album. And released by myself once again. There's the back cover so people can see it. Wonderful album. Again, buy a copy. So, very different to a lot of your previous work. I know you used to stress that you wanted to do something that might, in a way, or inadvertently, follow up Vibing Up the Senile Man Part 1. And you always said, Richard, I want, this is something for your label. I want you to do this. I'm
not sure Direct Action. Direct Action is not the follow-up to Vibing, though, is it?
It isn't.
Because I mean, one of the interesting things about Vibing was, although it musically was sort of experimental, lyrically it's still me. If you look at the lyrical themes on Vibing, they sort of really, you had those on Images Cracked as well, sort of means of isolation, sort of not not quite suicidal thoughts, but the sort of like alienation,
manic depressive.
It's like manic, but but talking about, and that sort of carries on in Vibing, that feeling of that, but so I suppose, but interesting, someone's asked me a question the other day, and I sort of think I've answered it, like 40 years later in a way with Direct Action, because somebody, because what happened almost after Vibing is like a sort of, everything was post Vibing and affected by Vibing, as we talk about in the book, is that, I made the next records I made after Vibing, the Fire from Heaven, that was sort of because of Vibing, and within the shadow of that. And then, of course, ATV's next sort of poppy album, Strange Kicks, again was a reaction against, to sort of allay other people's fears that I didn't have another song in me. So we ended up making Strange Kicks. So everything was sort of dominated by Vibing. And somebody recently asked a really interesting question. Said, why didn't you go into that industrial music experimental straight after that?
Oh, although I did touch on
it. I did touch on it with The Door and the Window, but that sort of ended more. But again, there was something, listening back to that stuff, we couldn't seem to get away from songs, you know what I mean? We certainly had the ability and the sort of interest in experimental stroke industrial music.
Yeah, of course.
There was always bits of that on Snappy Turns. There's bits of that on the Door and the Window album, Detailed Twang. And there's bits of that on the Reflection, Slugs and Toto. I was working, but I couldn't seem to get away with the idea of, we should be doing songs somehow, you know what I mean? Because I think as much as those years, sort of late 70s, early 80s, I was into things like Throbbing Gristle and all that. I was also enthralled by the Fall. The pop group, who certainly used songs, although they were both edgy. They certainly used song format, and I still had a bit of that. So I think I wasn't quite able to completely put that behind me, and then to sort of get straight into like become sort of a nurse with wound or something, or completely experimental. I always had it, and I think in a way, looking back, I mean, you can't obviously regret anything, but I think that was our sort of downfall, really, that obsession with songs, because we ended up scratching around, and then we did come back. We ended up sort of like chucked in with a sort of like, I think I spoke before that we ended up playing the living room, I talked up with
the creation groups, and
we used to be, we were like the old punk band that got involved in that, as well as the Mekons, I think, with the other bands,
TV personalities,
with the sort of older bands that play with the likes of June Brides, Big Bang Power, and all that sort of thing. So, and of course, that was all songs. It was all jingly jangle. It was all songs again. So it sort of passed me by, really. And so that's it. So in a way, finally, after all these years of having an interest in industrial experimental music, I finally, after all these years, there's always been hints of it in my work, as you know,
of
but
course.
finally sort of totally committed to making a sort of what I consider to be in that genre, an out direct action, which is in sort of industrial. So it's just taken me years to get there, really, you know.
Yeah, of course. So obviously it's very different, this album as well, because it's all, you know, it's entirely instrumental as well. So all 6 tracks are instrumental. So you've got a track from the same sessions, I think, appearing on my compilation, my double LP compilation.
It's not really the same sessions. It comes from the sort of well, we've got loads because of the nature of this stuff. You don't have to sort of all march into a studio. Well, nobody has to do that at all.
No, not at all.
But yeah, we've got loads, and we've got a library of sounds, you know, that we collect. Me and my friend down here, Gareth.
Oh yeah. You mentioned him
before. Who lives in Penzance as well, Gareth Matthews, who's working with me down here, and he records loads of stuff, you know, from cement mixers, squeaky drawers in his office, you know what I mean? The sounds of a computer room. It's all just for the mill, if you like. It's all stuff. And so everything comes from that. Everything comes from that sort of thing. And so, there's loads of that knocking about. There's a ton of it. So, you know, direct action is out of that. You know, I never went to art school. The track that's going to be on
the compilation,
your forthcoming compilation. With the track that we did a video recently. You know, why do I smell burning plastic? The origins of that are from that. So it's the way I like working like this, because I'm so interested in making that sort of music. It's everywhere. You get it everywhere, you know what I mean?
Oh, of course. But it brings me on to, you know, a question related to perhaps what you were explaining before about this yearning to go back to the song. Do you think you're going to
No, I think that's finally, I've finally exercised that. Because I think what happened again, because I think, I mean, if I look back to the last time I did a group of songs, you know, I'm really proud of them. I think the last all song album was Opposing Forces. Which was 2016 or something. It's a good album of songs, some great sounds. It's edgy in parts, but there's some great ideas on there. And then of course we did the after that we followed with a load of singles and that on various labels, you know, Public Domain, Work for Yourself, which were collected
Dark Places.
And it was collected on the Primitive Emotions.
That's right.
And again, that's a great collection. I mean, someone told me that's a bloody brilliant album. If that was put out as an album, that would be a great, you know. But I think that I'd reached the last. I remember the last song I wrote for that collection. It wasn't for the collection, but the newest song on that collection is Chinese Burn. And although I really like that song, I really like those lyrics, I think I was getting into that state. It's like we mentioned earlier slightly that I was afraid that I was turning this sort of grumpy old man sort of moaning about the world sort of approach, and you can only do that so much, and after I was, give it a rest sort of thing. I didn't want to turn into that, so maybe now and again that will rear its ugly head or its ugly
yes.
And I think Chinese Burn is, you know, pronged up the back of the, you know, where I'm sort of slagging people off and I'm, you know, kicking out the sort of what I consider modern society's become. So, but you only want to do it. You don't want an old album. That I don't want to turn to this sort of grumpy old white punk. It's just like, I mean, I sit watching myself on YouTube and that. So, you know, people that I know really well, a lot of them, I just think, give it a rest for Christ's sake. You're 67, you're 68. Chill out. You're not going to be able to change what you're railing on about. Stop it. You know, just stop it. You know, you know, if you want to play live, just do everyone loves your old songs. Just do your old songs. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to
stop spouting off.
Songs.
Yeah,
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 you know what it's like. So,
yeah,
but now and again, I do have some good ideas. If I've got what I think is an interesting way of putting it, I will do a lyric. So Chinese Burns one, and the latest one, as we said, he never went to art school.
yeah.
That's the last sort of set of lyrics. I thought, well, actually, this works quite well. It's just on the right side of being like a sort of a rant that sort of, but it's still got. But you only want to sort of. Uh, Say they're going to beat someone to death with a Mercury prize once. That if you say
Yeah.
that too much, you're not going to end up getting arrested.
Parted off, yeah. So,
But
yeah,
yeah, people will get the gist, won't they? When
yeah,
they hear
yeah, of
that song,
course.
hopefully they'll hear it. They'll get the gist, and then I can just get on with other stuff for a while.
Yeah, so where are you with new recordings at the moment? Are you working on new
But
material right now, or?
yeah, yeah. Well, we did. I mean, we've been working. The thing is, as well, it's hard to put across because I've always been a bit contradictory. As I was explaining someone before. I mean, I think we spoke about it in the book. Is when I was make sometimes when I'm making my most extreme music. You
Mm,
know, I'm actually my listening tastes are really straight. I mean, I said that when I was making up the vibe, and up the scene, old man. I
that's
was
right.
actually listening to stuff like, the Jam, Setting Suns, and I was a big Elvis fan, this year's model, incredible. So I was sort of listening to that. So you're sort of doing the heavier stuff, you're doing it, but I want a sort of day off sort of thing. So I sort of, and it's the same now, although I listen to all sort, Beatles, Leonard Skinner, all this sort of loads of American music still, just had Joni Mitchell on and all that. But
Okay.
that's totally removed from what I want to do musically. And the thing with music, I don't want to start to put a damper on anything, but because I've got no ambitions in a way to sort of, to make some great work or whatever anymore, I see perhaps the future that we is just put out these series of experiments that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like in a way direct action is that now and again we'll be cobbled together to put out an album. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
okay.
that's the way I see it. So I don't want to particularly want to make. I don't think I have to make any great statements,
Well,
but I'm
you've
still
already done that, I think.
as
So,
well,
you know,
hopefully, yeah. But I'm just interested in just doing different things. I mean, I was trying to explain when I was last working with a group, which sort of didn't work out after a while. I sort of explained then. I said I'd be happy to do a gig where we just did one song at the start of it, but maybe like crawling across the floor, that would be it, and like banging tables out. And they all looked at me as though I was a madman. But honestly, that's why I am now because I'm just not interested in doing the same old stuff all the time. I am
yeah, of course.
interested. I am interested in, the possibility of a show where it's just, one long track with one note on a keyboard getting louder and louder, then people coming in and out doing other stuff on the top of it. I mean, who cares? I mean, so it's. I don't, because I don't have to prove anything either to other people or myself.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
really open, but it's a two-edged sword that really open about what I want to do because it's like you could do anything, literally
Mm,
anything, but sort
mm.
of with that freedom, you're like, oh shit, well, how do we sort of finish on something? How do we decide this is right? But I mean, perhaps the best approach is to not worry about that. Just when we've got enough
I
stuff
guess
together
so, yeah.
this is an hour long. This will be an hour long. If we put all this stuff together, let's put a CD out, sort of thing. As
Yeah,
long as there's allies,
yeah.
to want to do that, people like yourself and that. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Yeah, I think it's interesting. No, I mean,
it's,
what you just described made me reminded me of the fact I saw Organum years ago, and
yeah,
I've forgotten where it was, maybe at the garage in Highbury and Islington, and I think he was supporting somebody, and I think he was just dragging a shovel along the stage, yeah, with a contact mic, and that was his show, And maybe there was
yeah,
some
yeah.
electronics,
I think there's a room for that, isn't there? But the thing is, it reminded me of the old. Not that I saw many of them. I think I saw two gigs of that sort of thing. But if you go back into the early '80s, at the late '70s, early '80s, there was the big improv scene.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
London improv. People like sort of like Steve Burrows for the alterations. People
Yeah.
like Derek Bailey, Evan Parker. Well, they used to play loads of gigs. I mean, loads of gigs. They used to like weekly things, either at the LMC or various upstairs at pubs and that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there'd be 2 or 3 people there in the audience. That was it. And if they weren't recorded, because a lot of those have ended up on that Eminem records, because someone had a tape machine.
Oh, okay. Which one?
EMMANEM.
Oh, right.
M records.
Yeah.
Spontaneous music on some all that.
Okay.
A lot of those gigs that are now out, and they're incredible examples of that type of music. There's probably only about 4 or 5 people in the audience, and the audience probably consists of people who are going to go on next sort of thing, the support acts or other musicians. So, but to me, there's like a sort of, it's like heroic, that type of thing. Because so many things now, like because of social media, whatever, so many things now are sold as that. You must see, it's like these endless punk gigs that the sort of people like Sham play, UK Subs, the usual crowd, the Skids. Every gig, they advertise it and they play all about as though it's going to be the next Woodstock, don't they? You must see this. What a great night this is going to be. And you think, well, they did this 2 months ago in fucking Morecambe. And now they're doing it like in Blackpool, and then suddenly it's like the next Woodstock, and it's like you can only do that so many times, and surely someone's going, hold on a minute, we did this last month, the same lineup, almost the same, and we're building it up as though it's I can't wait to hear the Skids do whatever, I can't wait to you go, and there's all this, but to me it's not like that music. It's more like you dip in and out. You don't put all your weight on one gig. It's like you get some people. I mean, I won't say that, but I read some people like they'll say, I was literally in tears when they played. Went to see like Echo and the Bunnymen, and they were literally in tears when they played whatever song it was. I can't even remember, but literally in tears. I mean, I'd be fucking in tears at the ticket price.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, so I understand what you were saying about, not wanting to be part of this kind of nostalgia.
No, well, it reminds me, I sort of say to people, I don't know whether people, what's the word? I'm quite sort of serious about music, earnest about making music and all that. And, and also allied to that, I've never been the one, these sort of people go, oh, do you fancy coming up the pub for a drink on, I always sort of, when they blokes, friends invite you for a drink or something and all this. And I'm the sort of person, I'm more like, not that I don't like these people, but I'm more like, why? Why? Because I've never been that type of person that wants to have a jolly up and all that just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is I think what the punk scene now is, I'm not talking, there's probably some young kids making music, great, whatever, but the older punk scene and this sort of like nostalgia thing, I think that what it is that it's sort of a bunch of bands that sort of, that's all they got. I mean, it's their glory days, isn't it? And maybe they don't need to do a proper job anymore, they're retired. People like Richard Jobson's a good example. But so they go out and have some fun, they do a couple of their old songs and all that. And bloody hell, it just so happens there's like thousands of blokes, again the same age, who like to go out and meet up with mates every couple of weeks that are also into the same music and have a great big jolly up. They all get pissed. And so it's like, it's a match made in heaven, isn't it? You've got all these old punk bands that can't give up, that want to keep them going till they drop. Plus a load of old blokes who want to get pissed every weekend, whatever. So that's what fuels it. And now and again they bring in some new act and say, oh, this is a real cutting edge new punk to the punk scene, Bob Vylan or something, or some stupid thing, or the Idols, or they're really punky, what we've been waiting years for, and all this nonsense they come out with, to try to revive it a bit. But the sad fact is, it's just cabaret. It's like I said, it's just mostly old blokes and a few old women as well. Ladies. Like having a Beano. It's like an endless Beano, isn't it? It's something my parents used to do at holiday camps, and that's what it's turned into. And if that's your thing, I've always said that. If that's what they want to do it. Yeah. But I'm not interested in that. I wasn't involved. I didn't get into music for that. To just have a night out. you know, when I was living south, you know, I mean, probably it was my mates who weren't into music had the best nights out, who just went to disco and pulled birds or something. You know what I mean? I've always approached music, you know, whether it was sniffing glue thing. I mean, that comes through, whether it was sniffing glue or late alternative. I've always been quite serious about it. And I think that's why I don't fit in to this sort of current nostalgia scene.
Yeah.
I don't fit into it. I've tried, as you know, I've done a lot of these. I did the very first, you know, the very first time they sort of did this revival thing, 95. I can't believe how long
Was that like
is.
Blackpool Rebellion or
Yeah,
something?
well, it was Bath. It was the one at Bath, Holidays in
Oh
the
yeah,
Sun. And that was the first time a lot of those bands had come together. It was, you know, because it was about 20 years after the fact.
yeah.
So it still seemed, yeah, we want to prove we can still do it. So you had the shit like the Sham 69, ourselves, Stiff Little Fingers, UK Subs. The difference is I sort of got over it. I had a few years doing that. But a lot of these people that played that one in Bath, you know, along with me, they're still doing it now. That's the difference. You know, I thought then it was a bit not silly then. There was more, it's like when the Sex Pistols first came back in 96.
96,
In a
yeah.
way, when they first came back, it was like, we want to prove we can play.
Yeah.
We want to prove we're a good bloody
It was
band.
justified. Yeah, yeah, they were good. Yeah,
but
yeah.
but then they kept on and they did it a bit too long, overdid it, didn't they?
Yeah,
Luckily,
yeah.
that's it now. But
Yeah.
but I think that's what's happened to a lot of these other punk bands. Rather than saying, oh, it's great to remember the old days, right? We'll get back to either retiring or making some new music. They've sort of thought, well, actually, there's a market for this, because that's what it's all bound to in the end, isn't it? Bottom line is there's a market for this.
Yeah.
We can sell T-shirts, we can sell tickets, we can endlessly re-release our album and that. So that's why it's kept on going. Yeah, well, it's why you got people like Steve Diggle, one of my favourites, has kept the Buzzcocks going after Pete Shelley died. I mean, it's like, I mean, when someone had told you that 40 years ago, there'll be a time Pete Shelley died and the Buzzcocks name will go, why would that happen? You know, Pete Shelley dies, surely it's got to end.
Yeah,
but they didn't. They haven't taken into account the current market, and there's a market for this old stuff. There's a market for the Buzzcocks, even if it's got like one last member left. There's still a market for it out there. That's the reality of it, you know.
Yeah, I understand that cynicism completely. I've countered.
That's all it is.
Yeah,
there's no need for it. They always sort of say, "Oh, 40th anniversary tour, 50th, and endless anniversaries." Christ, you have any more? It's like endless, isn't it? And what it is, it's like a justification to keep doing it.
Richard Jobson and Steve Diggle might contend exactly the same point, that they're very serious about what they do, and you know, so they might feel exactly the same way as you do, and yet they have just this different approach. So,
well, yeah, I suppose they do. Yeah, I just. I don't know. I've always had this thing about, you know, old people, old men playing rock music, playing punk. It's just stupid. You know what I mean? I don't get it, you know. I know, you know, I'm an old person still playing music, but the idea that at 67 I could still relate to songs I wrote when I was, you know, 19, 20. I mean, when I last attempted to do something like Life, probably one of our best ever songs. It just sounded daft. It did. I was doing it, and everyone was, hey, you know, a lot of people enjoying it. But I suppose, because I'm trying to be true to myself, I'm really trying, but I didn't feel right. I felt like a fake. I just felt really uncomfortable, and I did it because the other guys in the band wanted to do some of the old ones, you know, particularly our drummer we had, a big punk fan. And, you know, a lot of people like it. Perhaps a lot of people didn't notice that I was uncomfortable. But I was singing it. It was difficult. Like, just in the dull cue. It's like, it's nonsense. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, I felt uncomfortable doing that. I mean, people who know ATV, we didn't play Action Time Vision. You know, 2 years after Action Time Vision come out, I used to say stuff in interviews like, oh, we don't play that old stuff anymore.
So, yeah, obviously I understand completely where you're coming from regarding the old nostalgia circuit and everything else.
Yeah. So that's gone now. I mean, I'm not going to do any of that again. People have asked about, you know, the upcoming gig we got. in May the 18th, isn't it?
May the 18th. Yeah.
Cafe Otto. People have asked, "Oh, you're going to play this? You're going to play?" I said, "Well, no, we're just going to. We don't even know what we're going to play. It's going to be entirely sort of
That's you
more
and
the
me both.
experimental side, you know."
I don't know my words yet.
So I want to stick by that because I've said we're not going to play any more punk gigs. So that's the future now. That I'm just, you know. So yeah, so very positive about. As I say, I don't quite know what I want to do musically, but I just want to experiment with different ideas. I'm interested in the concept of stuff. It's why we did that nod to White House on the direct action sleeve.
Yeah,
I'm
of
interested
course.
in that conceptual idea. We've recently down here, as you know, I've got another sort of version of alternative TV.
That's right.
It's called ATV PZ. And
Yeah.
what we've done down here recently is put out this. We started a cassette label called SG Tapes.
Okay.
And we've just recently put out this thing called Tin Farming on Causeway Head.
That's right.
It's recordings that were recorded at a sort of gig we did down in Penzance in December. And what we got, the guy who sort of runs the gig and that, this guy called Taff X, he's taken everything that was done on the evening, he sort of mixed it all together in a sort of Dada-esque, surreal, music concrete way and created this he's cut it up and mixed it, and it's like it's really hard to describe, as you can tell. It's really hard to describe, but you have to hear it to believe it. And you have to be quite strong-willed to actually listen to it all, I would say. It's very challenging.
Well, I like challenging, you know.
That's it. So that again, it's as much about the music, but it's also about. I love the idea we've done this sort of SG tapes, and we've done it as sort of 80s style.
Yeah.
So we've made it look like, and you know, we found this company that could sort of knock these turnaround in like 2 weeks.
Really?
So we can do the artwork, we can, you know, create the WAV file, and we can have the thing on, you know, like we used. You've got the online shop, you know, sniffingglue.co.uk. We've got a shop on there.
Yeah, okay.
We can get it in the shop, you know, in 3 weeks through, like, you know, send off to the factory. Within 3 weeks, it's in the shop on sale. So we're going to sort of do more of that sort of thing, sort of instant, real, you know, really in that sort of DIY indie zone, like the proper indie zone, not the indie scene now, what, you know, since then.
What passes for it,
you know.
Yeah.
So you know, it's lots of positive things, but so it's as much about the sort of design, the concept of it, as about the music. It's like just, and then obviously with the tape, we did the tape, and then we had this other bit of music. Now, what the story was, we had this bit of music that I really liked that Gareth created.
Okay.
And he created it by recording this squeaky drawer. He had a squeaky drawer in the office he worked.
Right.
This was his squeaky drawer. So we had, we've got to do something. That was only 2 minutes long. And then what else happened is that initially, when we ordered the tapes, the cassette tapes, they sent us some that were duff. They sent some of the tapes were duff. You know, they'd put the wrong thing on. So we got on to them. They said, look, don't worry, we'll do it again for you. And they were really good this time. They did it within 2 or 3 days. We had like the new, you know, proper ones. But what we had on our hands is a load of cassettes that were wrong. You know, we couldn't sell. So they said, well, keep the cassette. So we thought we'd sort of, again, like in the zone that I'm in now, we'll do this like mad thing. We'll sort of do a conceptual art piece.
Which is...
and film it for YouTube. So I've become so pretentious in my old days. So we did this. We all got in my garden. We set up this sort of funeral pyre, this fake, you know, for the cassettes, you know, and we basically set light to them. And that was the concept of that. We thought, this would be a great piece, you know, that we could, again, well, we got the cassette label, now we're going to do videos and stuff. Again, it was like, I seem to be having a second wind. It says, I went to art school. So I never went to art school, but I'm sort of, what I'm doing now is trying to make out I'm sort of at art school, because it's the type of thing that you would have done if you were at art school. You know, let's go in the yard and set light to something and film it, and that'll be part of my end show or whatever, you know. But that's what we did. So we had this film of these tapes being set alight, and we matched that with this music that we created of Gareth with a wonky drawer I played some synthesizer over the top. Alfie, my son Alfie, he played some synthesizer, and that's
Okay.
how we created Why Do I Smell Burning Plastic, which is available by ATV stroke PZ, which is obviously available on YouTube. And that's it. It's never going to be anywhere else, that piece of music.
Really? Okay.
That's it. It's just the video. We've created it. It's out there. So that's what I was interested in doing there. It's like nothing to prove. No big sales, not talking about all big numbers. We can really move this. None of that bullshit. It's just doing stuff because it's cool to do. You know what I mean? Because
yeah, but this is always part of your aesthetic anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've got the thing now. I've got such a great gang of people. I've got Gareth, who's in ATV PZ down here with me in Penzance. Plus the two guys who work on the website with me, Steve Junkwax and a guy called Radley Cook, who's like the designer guy.
Oh, yeah.
And they're into the same sort of thing. So we're getting together, we create this sort of stuff. We created the label, we do the video. So, long may it continue. As long as we've got ideas, we can put them out there, So
absolutely,
it's quite exciting, I think, at the moment,
Yeah, it sounds
the good thing about me, I'm not relying on the old stuff I did. It's all new. It's all new ideas and that. It's not sort of like, leaning on like the crutch of Action Time Vision all the time.
No.
It's deadly that. It's like it's a bloody cul-de-sac. It's
a
bloody cul-de-sac, and all that. I still don't mind the royalties from it,
of course.
I still don't mind the royalties, but I don't have to play every other. I don't have to play it every other night. You can do this new stuff,
Of course. So do you think
so that's what's good?
Yeah. So do you think because obviously you're playing, it's quite prolific for you. You're playing two concerts in London this year. You're doing my event, and you're playing November, I think. Is it November?
Yeah, we got the May event. Yeah, we got the May event at Cafe Otto. We're playing down here. We're playing in Penzance. It'll be the ATV PZ lineup. We're playing down here in August.
Oh, okay.
We've got a gig at the local gig here, Farmers Arms. And then, as you say, in November we're playing the Camden Underworld with Kevin, Suck If No More, the Brighton After, which is good for us actually, because that will be quite an interesting one, because it's sort of playing in that sort of power electronic scene that we haven't really. I mean, I've been to loads of those gigs, I've seen lots of those people, but we've never sort of played in that sort of setting. So it should be quite interesting that for us,
Yeah. So do you think you'll be doing something different? I'm sure you will, to what you're doing at Otto.
we've had conversations, because obviously I don't really get to rehearse with the London bands, with Dave Morgan and Ruth and all that, Cos Chapman, the London guys. I don't really get to rehearse them, so most of our rehearsal is just talking about it. Me telling. We will do one rehearsal. I mean, for the Cafe Otto, for example, I'm coming up a couple of days early, and we're going to rehearse on the Friday before the gig. So to give some idea of what we know. I mean, the thing about those guys is they're experienced. I mean, I mean, particularly Cos, who plays guitar at the moment, he does improv stuff all the time. He's part of this scene in North London. Improvisation, he builds instruments and all that, so it gives us that freedom. You know what I mean? He's not
of course,
or anything. So you know what I mean? So hopefully people will be interested. I mean, there'll be some people who are obviously going to come and see alternative TV. It's a shame they don't play the old stuff, but there's just as many people that they like alternative TV, because we are prepared to take chances, and we are to prepare to experiment. So
well, obviously I'm not alone here. I appreciate ATV for lots of different reasons.
That's right. But you don't know what I want it to be like. As I said, we were talking earlier that I don't want to make every gig as you're going to hear all this. Although at some gigs we might feel just like do one number, the whole set will just be one piece. But I don't want to treat it as there used to be in the past a sort of sense of, we better play this, because if we don't play this, we don't play. There's this, to feed everything, and it's like, well, why do I want to bother with that anymore? For example, I mean, down here we play at the Farmers Arms. We don't even charge people to get in; it's free.
Okay.
We don't even charge people, so there's no pressure at all. It's not like I've paid £10 to come to this gig. I want to hear. It's free entry.
So,
if you don't like it, you can go. So, but that's the way, because it's only a walk away from me. That's what I like to do. It's like doing the cassette, doing the video. It's something I like to do. It's like, in a way, it's, when you get into the rock scene properly still and all this, it's like Ticketmaster, isn't it? And it's like bar takings, and it's all this bullshit that's got nothing to do with music. How much merch you can sell, everyone, because it's understandable, because people have to get to gigs, they have to pay for the petrol, didn't they? Everyone
that's
needs
right.
paying.
Yeah,
But it's
all
to
adds
me,
up.
that's a lot. I hate all that pressure. It's nonsense. It just, to me, it takes it away from them. That's where went wrong with punk, as far as I'm concerned. It started getting into that normal rock scene, and suddenly the accountant is the most important person in the company. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It's the economics of scale. The bigger these companies get, whether it's an indie company, if it happens to rough trade, suddenly the accountants are calling the shots, and I'm fed up with all that. So we play the local Farmers Arms. It's free to get in. The bloke Taff in there, he's got a great PA system and all that. What do you need any more? We sell a few. Of course, we sell a few T-shirts. We sell a few cassettes and all that, a few books. That's the way I like it. Just nice. If people want to see us, come down here and see it. Have a weekend in Penzance, sunny Penzance in the summer.
You're doing a bit for the tourist board.
Yeah, hopefully. But I don't, all the hassle of that. It's not about the music, whether it's a punk gig or a metal gig. It's like, yourself, you can't even tell the difference. It's the same people. You've got all the security stuff. Nowadays, you can hardly pay for anything in cash anymore. It's all that shit nowadays, isn't it? The ticket master and all that. The ticket companies are ripping everyone off with their bloody, admin fees, whatever that means. I mean, they're not even sending out bits of paper anymore. Right? It just goes to your phone. How there's admin fees?
I know. It always baffles me.
The whole thing. The whole thing is a massive rip-off, isn't it? The T-shirts are overpriced. The drinks are over. Everything. It's like, I don't want to be part of that anymore. That shit. All these bands, so-called punk bands, they're all part of this bullshit. They're part of this industry that just, in my opinion, rips people off. I don't want to be part of that anymore. I'm fed up with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. But we've said before that we want to try and keep this positive. So,
in a way, because of that, we're creating our own thing, and it's this tiny little thing, but it's great. It's because it's just doing what we want to do, creating like making mad videos, and then next month we move on to the next one. That's what we want to do. So it's quite positive, really. So I certainly don't want to go that road. I'll stay on the road I'm on at the moment. I'll stay doing what I'm doing, and
Yeah, of course. Okay, so we're running out of time here. So just to wrap things up, do you think you'll be doing a follow-up to this on vinyl or CD? Also, we're going to do a CD version, aren't we?
Yeah, well, we've got a couple of things out of our system, and I want to sort of round it up. I want to round it up by just with the direct action. It's sort of unfinished really until we do the CD version.
Okay.
And we just put these bits and bobs in that are sort of part of all that.
Okay.
And then hopefully that will clear the decks. Literally the decks.
The decks, Get the record,
whatever.
And then you can move on to the next.
Yeah, but the next project, but it might be similar. I don't know really,
Okay.
I was toying with the idea. I don't want to scare you. It's all about the sort of playing around with silence.
Like John Cage style.
Well, yeah, just putting an album out where it's just totally. But obviously, I've told everyone now, so they're not going to buy it, are they? But
I think Steve Pittis has beaten you to it, though. Steve Pittis has, from Dirty Promotions. He's done.
Before that, didn't the Dead Kennedys? They put out that album, The Wit and Wisdom, didn't they? Of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. And Steve also released something. Something based on Trump? And it's also silence apart.
He did. He must have got the air.
He must have.
But I
taken the idea.
Also, there was I forget what it was now. It was something in Australia. This sort of like edgy comedian at the time, where he put on the show, and the concept of the show was the performance was he didn't turn up.
Went to the pub next door.
Yeah, the audience all came down, tickets all waiting, and it was the bloke didn't turn up. That was the performance. Now that is bloody irritating. So I promise now, we're never going to do that. but I'm beyond that now. I've done, you know, I'm trying to look at interesting ways to sort of like make records and to use the name alternative TV or whatever in
Yeah.
interesting ways, you know. So
Okay.
watch
Well,
this space sort of thing.
long
You know?
may it continue, Mark. Well,
Yeah, hopefully.
yeah. Obviously, we didn't talk about the sniffing glue book, but obviously, I think you've been speaking about that quite a lot elsewhere.
Oh yeah, it's.
You
I
know,
mean, if you're interested in early punk, don't bother going to see the Skids next week. Just buy the Sniffing Glue book, and then you'll, you know, that tells you all you need to know.
I like Skids as well. But
Yeah, but
yes,
not at 68 years old
no,
or
no,
whatever they are. No,
no,
bloody
no,
old
no.
men dragging around.
You're doing the dad dance, you know.
Oh, the dad dance.
Yeah,
And someone said to me, well, he knows he's doing it. You know, he's self-aware. I said, yeah, but he's still doing it. If you're self-aware, you really stop doing it.
you
Just
wouldn't do
stop.
it. He's
Well,
not got
try
enough
not to.
self-awareness.
But I've seen myself. I've seen myself. I saw a video when we played the Acorn, and I didn't like the look of myself.
Oh, I
To
never
be
liked the look of
honest, I know it
myself.
sounds silly. I didn't. I looked at me and I didn't like the look of myself. You know, moving around to, you know, whatever we were doing. You know,
Maybe that's the paradox of you know, attack. Well, one
possibly,
of
but
them, you know,
you know,
performing.
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with older musicians, but it's probably best if they sat down or something. I mean, Robert Fripp, he's been doing it for years, just sits on a stool, doesn't he, Robert Fripp? That's probably the best thing to do.
Yeah, but I'm
Just
sure I
sit on
saw a
sit on a
photo of him.
stool.
Yeah, wasn't he? I saw a photo of him last week, and he's just sitting there in the buff. He's naked with a guitar.
Oh, yeah,
I
well,
mean,
that's that bloody, that's
not
Toya.
Yeah, I know it's her
That's
bad
Toya's
influence.
fault, and she's
Yeah,
doing all these bloody stupid videos and that.
yeah,
Yeah, he's gone on.
you know,
I think he's lost it a bit, hasn't he?
seems to
He's
have done.
lost it.
It's not. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
dignified. So,
But he's one of these buggers that has done the same as I said before. I mean, they've released those massive box sets, haven't they? Every rehearsal, every gig on a tour. I mean, who can possibly? I mean, I like, you know, the 72, 73, 74 King Crimson. I'm a great fan of it.
yeah, I like
But I
it.
don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to every gig on the bloody tour of it. You know what I mean? It's just,
No,
you know, it's elite. It's for the elite, isn't it? The people who've got these, you know, these Blu-ray sound systems and all that, and these Atmos bollocks and all that. You know, so, you know, Stephen Wilson and his mates. It's all that lot. It's for them, isn't it?
he
It's
might
a
have
bloody
something to
rip-off.
say about this.
It's a rip-off. All
Yeah,
you need, Lark's Tongues in Aspect, all you need is the one CD or the one album. You don't need all this other stuff.
yeah,
It's superfluous stuff.
yeah. Obviously, I'm working with Stephen, so you know,
Yeah,
for
no,
him, it's.
he's all right. He's a great. He loves music. He's so enthusiastic.
I think that's
isn't he?
how
And
you can justify
and
it.
it must pay. He must get
Yeah.
paid well for doing all these remixes.
Well, yeah, I
but,
didn't
yeah.
ask, but yeah, you know, I'm sure it's his day job, isn't it? So
I mean, nobody has asked me to remix Emerson, Lake and Palmer, have they?
well, now there's an idea. So if anyone's listening or watching, I think on that note, Mark, we can round this off. And it's been a pleasure as always catching
Yeah,
up
it's
with
been
you,
fun,
talking, and
Yeah.
we'll get this edited. Alan Ryder will do this.
I'll see you at the Cafe Otto.
Yeah, it's only
Just to let
3 weeks
people
time.
know, I'm going to bring in some cassettes. Tin Farming on Causeway Head. I'm going to bring some cassettes up to the Cafe Otto. So anyone wants to buy one, I'm going to have some there.
Okay. All right, brilliant. And there'll be
you
a merch.
freebie. You could have one.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That'll be much appreciated. So yeah, there'll be merch at Otto anyway. So
Cool.
and of course there'll be this available and that as well. So
Yeah, brilliant.
lots of things to buy. So bring your money. So
Exactly.
yeah. And on that note, thanks again, Mark. We'll talk again soon.
cheers.
We'll be in touch anyway. So
Yeah. Thanks for that. Enjoyed it. Yeah.
thank you. Likewise. Cheers. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.